for our Praxis PLT teacher certification exam. I'm really excited to be here with you today. Let me know in the chat that you can hear me and see me. Looks like people can talk in the chat and all of that. Good morning. Good morning. Today we are working on the Praxis PLT. I'm going to be going over all of those sections. So the 5622 or 5621, 5622, 5623, and 5624. We're also going to be going over the 5625 as well. They're all the same. All right. So if you are here today to work on your Praxis PLT, you're in the right spot. But if you're also from Texas and you're working on the PPR, so the principles of pedagogy and something else, I forget what it is. It's all the same. If you're from Florida and you're doing the professional ed, these are all sort of the same things. Okay. Now let people know in the chat if they can't hear me to unmute their broadcast. Typically, like on my phone, my broadcast is muted default. So you have to, unmute your broadcast. And if you're in the chat, let them know. So we are live right now. It is 10 o'clock on September 20th. Yes, September 20th. And if you're watching in the future, you are already getting all of the emails and everything. But if you're live with me today, you are going to get an email when this is over. It's going to have the constructed response and everything we talked about today. So don't worry if you get disconnected or whatever, you're going to get everything and the replay. You're also going to get some coupon codes and things like that, okay? We also have a book giveaway. So in the description, if you are in the webinar right now live on September 20th at 10:02 a.m., you can enter to win some of the books I'm going to give away today. I'm giving away 7 books. I have 1 5622, 2 5621s, 2 5623s, and 2 5624s. But let me tell you, if you win a 5624, but you're taking the 5622, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. They just have like high school examples versus middle school examples versus elementary school examples, but the concepts are the same. So I don't want you to buy any extra books. Like don't buy this book and then buy the 5623 as well. You don't need to do that. If you have one PLT book, that's good. If you don't have a PLT book, we have them. They are awesome. They cover everything. They also just make you kind of a really good teacher. If you're a brand new teacher, this is a good book to have because it kind of covers everything. Standards, lesson planning, all of that. I also have an online course and you can get that at KathleenJasper.com. And there's going to be a link in the description that will take you there. And also, if you are in the live webinar today, you will have a 20% off coupon code that my colleague Yana, who should be coming into the chat very shortly, will have for you. Also, I'm going to stop periodically because I'm going to pull your names out of a digital hat. We put your name in a scrambler if you entered to win, and the link is in the description inside the webinar. And I'll pull out some names. Now, if you're on social media right now, you're watching live on social media, there's a link in the description to click to get into the webinar if you want to enter to win this. You put in your information, you're taken to a thank you page, and you get the live link and you get the free study guide and all of that. And then you're emailed all the free resources on top of that. Okay. So really quickly, now that we got that out of the way, my name's Kathleen Jasper. I am the owner of Kathleen Jasper LLC. I write these books and put out these online courses and these free webinars on Saturdays and all of that to help you pass your teacher certification exams. I was a substitute teacher. I started off as a sub, got certified, took about 5 or 6 certification exams because I had to keep taking different ones because different positions came available at my high school. So you have to take the test that you want to teach. I finally settled in teaching intensive reading for high school students. So I had students who struggled in reading, biology, both, general ed and some advanced levels in the Cambridge program, and English language arts, all at the high school level. Then I went downtown to work as a curriculum specialist, which is an amazing job. I highly recommend if you love curriculum and you love all that stuff. If you get a chance to go downtown and work in the district office, it is an incredible opportunity. I learned so much, and a lot of what I do today in my business is informed by that whole experience there. And then I started on my doctorate and I became an assistant principal. I was an assistant principal for 3 years and I left education to start my own company that I'm obsessed with, that I love because I get to do the thing I love, which is professional development, which is teaching because I love to teach. And I work with teachers every day and students because we do SAT, college prep as well. And I teach. I love to teach and that's what I do. So I do it online. I teach on my online courses. I have study guides on Amazon, my website and all of that. And that's what I do. Today, we're talking specifically about the PLT, Principles of Learning and Teaching. This is a test that most teachers have to take. It governs the kind of overall thing of teaching. It covers how students learn. It covers the ethics of teaching. It covers students' rights, teachers' rights. It covers, the protocols, technology, all of that. And it's really important, especially for people who have never been in the classroom before, to pay attention to some of the scenarios we're going to talk about today. All right. So looks like you guys are all in the chat and talking to each other and you guys have entered to win the books. Awesome. We're going to stop periodically to do that. Quickly, I just want to show you, in case you are just trying to figure out where to get the stuff I'm talking about, KathleenJasper.com. This is my website. Some of you may already have the book. You may not. Under study guides, just go to Praxis PLT. They're all listed here. I also have an online course. So if we go to test prep here, PLT, we have the online courses here, of course, and those come with the study guide. When you order from the website, it's digital. When you order from Amazon, it's physical. So you can also order from Amazon. Oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry. If we go here, you can go to Amazon here. And you can see that we have a ton of 5-star reviews for our books, and that's where you can get the physical book there. All right. I'm going to talk a little bit more about our products, but I just want to get started on the free webinar. But if you want more, that's what you get. Now, with the free webinar, you got a free study guide. It's a little abbreviated version. We're going to talk about it today. And when you're done here, we are going to send you the constructed response. So today I'm going over some multiple choice questions, and I will also go over 2 large constructed response scenarios that each have 2 questions in them. So we're going to go over 4 full constructed response questions. All right. So let's talk about the overall structure of the PLT. I find it very important to talk about the structure of the exams. When you know what the test is in terms of its structure, in terms of its content categories and all of that, and the specifications, you can really get good at taking these exams. And this particular exam, the PLT, is one that you can use those think like a test maker strategies I always talk about. Okay. So first of all, if we're going to think like a test maker, and I love that phrase, not a test taker, we want to think about the overall structure and the test specification that the testing company puts out. So every testing company, and I learned this when I worked in curriculum, every big testing company that builds these big standardized assessment, whether it's for teacher certification, SAT, so your students take an ELA exam at 3rd through 10th grade or whatever, they all have something called a test blueprint and specification. Now, I highly recommend you Google your test name and the term test specification and blueprint. Now, I used to project these during my webinars, but it is ETS's, that's the company. It's their proprietary information. So I don't need to be posting all of their stuff on my webinar where I'm trying to sell my books, right? You can see where there could be a problem there. So I want you to do your research and go find it. Just Google Praxis, PLT, 5621, 5622, whatever your test is, and the term test specification and blueprint. Now, you can do this with any test, any large test. Sometimes it's called a test spec. Praxis calls it a study companion. It's usually in the test resources, test prep resources on the big test company's website. You can also chat GPT it. You could say, hey, I'm looking for this PDF or web page where it breaks down the test by content category and specifications. Can you please help me? Go out there and find it. You can find it. I know people say, oh, I Googled it. I couldn't find it. You might have to dig a little deeper. Your algorithm may not be synced up. Go find that test specification. So here's basically what it is, okay? You have a test blueprint, which has the big overarching categories of the exam. And for this exam, there are actually 4 main content categories for the Praxis PLT. And then if you're taking 5621 through 5624, there is a constructed response, so an essay section. If you're taking 5625, then you don't have to do a constructed response. Now, if you're taking the Praxis or the Texas PPR, if you're taking the Florida professional education, yours might be a little different, but here's how all of them are broken down, okay? The first part of the PLT is students as learners. So this is all about the students, how they learn, different processes. There's going to be theorists in there, and I have those all in the book, Bandura, Bruner, Dewey, Piaget, Vygotsky. If you were in the College of Education, if you're getting your master's now, maybe in ed leadership, those are the seminal education researchers with the foundational research that governs education. And it goes all the way through. You're going to have to understand that students are diverse learners, right? So if you're a brand new teacher, maybe a career changer, maybe you came up during a time like I did where teachers sort of taught to the middle and you had to keep up. And if you didn't keep up, you fell behind. Now we do things a little bit differently. And a lot of teachers did things differently then too. But sometimes we have to abandon, especially if you're a little bit older and taking this exam, some of the old practices of education from a long time ago in order to do well on this exam. So, for example, like when I was a kid, if you misbehaved, you just got sent out of the room and you got a referral. And of course, we still do that today, but research shows that restorative practices in discipline are much, much better. So praising good behaviors and ignoring bad ones, picking your battles, trying to get students to find those positive behaviors. And you might say, oh God, that's just so wishy-washy. I mean, kids these days are so soft. Well, actually, the research shows that restorative practices are much more effective than punitive practices. Punitive practices are certainly easier and teachers are busy and administrators are busy. But when you put in the time to do restorative practices like PBIS and things like that, it works. And this test, those are the right answers. So if you have a certain way of thinking about discipline or just the classroom because of the way you're brought up. Maybe you came up in the military. Maybe you're a military person and obviously it's a little different. Try to abandon some of that and really zero in on some of the best practices that I outline in my study guide for sure and that are outlined in the test specification. All right. So that's the whole students as learners. Then we get into the instructional process. So this is the second content category. And this is the same for the Praxis PLT 5621 through 5625. The blueprint and specs are exactly the same with a few differences, and I'm going to go over that in a minute. But the second part is the instructional practices. This is all about planning your instruction, aligning it to the standards, using assessment, being data-driven, all of that. We're going to talk more about that in our questions. The next part is, assessment. Remember, the state is giving you this exam. They want to know that you're going to use data to make decisions in your classroom. And so assessment is a big thing. You have to know the difference between criterion, referenced assessment, formative, summative, norm referenced, all of that. And again, I have charts, visuals, everything in my online course, in my videos, and in my book here. We will go over some of that today as well. And then the last part of the multiple choice section is the professional development, leadership, and community. The state wants to know that you're going to go out and be a lifelong learner when it comes to being a teacher. They want you to stay abreast of all the new practices. They want you to be well informed with, the laws that govern education. They want you to build community with your teachers. And so those questions are going to outline that. Now, we just went through the 4 sections of the PLT. All right. So we have students as learners, the instructional process. What's the next one? Assessment and professional development, leadership, and community. So those are the 4 main sections of the Praxis PLT 5161 through 5624. 5621 to 5624. All right. Now, for the 5621, 22, 23, and 24, you have a 5th content category, a 5th section, which is the constructed response. That is the essay portion of the exam, and it is worth 25% of the entire exam. So you can't blow off the writing. Now, if you're one of the lucky ones taking the 5625, and let me know in the chat if you are, you just have multiple choice, okay? So again, The 5621, let's go over this in terms of the main structure now. Let's break it down one more time, okay? If you're taking the 5621, you are pre-K through third grade. If you're taking the 5622, you are taking it for elementary education. If you're taking the 5623, you're doing grades 7 through 9, I believe, middle school. And if you're taking the 5624, you're doing secondary, high school, okay? Now, they all assess the same things. They assess students as learners. They assess the instructional process. They assess assessment, and they assess professional development, leadership, and community. They all have those same 4 content categories. Then the 5621 through the 5624 has the essay. If you're taking the 5625, you're actually taking, I think it's K through 12, they call it now. So you're taking them all, but no writing. All right. Now, it doesn't matter if you're taking the pre-K, the middle, the high school, the elementary ed. It doesn't matter. They're all assessing the same thing. So I can see people here. Kim is taking the 5625. Tara, you guys lucked out. No writing for you. Monica, no writing for you. But sometimes the writing helps push you over the edge. Sometimes just a multiple choice test. I mean, it's certainly, it takes less time, but sometimes you can get, a couple extra points there. And we're going to go over all of that today. Okay. And I've got people from Louisiana, Arkansas, South Carolina. Awesome guys. Thank you so much for being here with me today. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at some actual test questions. And I'm going to show you kind of what section they align in the test specification. And I'm going to show you how to work backwards to find those correct answer choices. Now, the PLT is an exam where it is written in a way that's very situational. There are tons of scenarios, and these can be overwhelming for brand new teachers. But when you learn how to think like a test maker and work backwards, you will find these questions are the easiest because there are keywords that you can zero in on, and it's like a big green light shining on the correct answer and a big red X telling you to stay away from certain answer choices. And I'm going to go over those patterns today. And beyond that, I have a good words list in all of my books. The good words come from the test specification. They are words that show up over and over and over again in your test specifications. So in the beginning, I went over the content categories 1 through 4, and then the 5th was that constructed response, right? Well, beyond that, there are specifics for each section. So under the instructional process, under students as learners, under all of them, there are then like objectives, long objectives. Those are the test specifications. And you will see words like routines and procedures show up all the time. The term differentiated instruction, the term unique student needs, the term student achievement. You will see these words that I talk about, good words, show up in the test specs and therefore show up in the correct answers on the exam. I learned this when I was in curriculum. This is how they frame their tests. There are patterns. So please pay attention and work backwards. You're going to find it's very, very easy. And then once you know all these buzzwords, when it comes to the constructed response, use them in the constructed response. Don't just abandon everything we talked about in the multiple choice and then flake on the constructed response. And I know that happens because you're under pressure and writing. You have to do 4 essays for this particular exam if you're doing the writing. There are 4 of them. You blank out. Don't blank out. You're always going to have those teaching strategies that you can pull from and apply to anything. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. All right. So before we get started, let's do a book giveaway. I am going to go over, we are giving away our first one. 5621. This is pre-K through third grade-ish. If your state is making you take the 5621, probably, there we go. You are teaching the little ones, the scary ones. I taught high school. I'd rather have like 18-year-old giants in my class than the little ones. The little ones scare me, but they are so fun too. And some of you are so talented in this area. 5621. So I'm giving away this. Let's go ahead and All right, for the 5621, I have Teresa Capers. Teresa Capers, let me know in the live chat in Vimeo. If you're here, you have to be present in the live chat. All right, so it is Teresa Capers, and Linda Harris. So Teresa Capers and Linda Harris, let me know in the chat if you are there. Let me know if you have any questions. And we will go over that. Katrina says high school scares me. Not as much as pre-K scares me. High school is good. Teresa Capers is here. Okay, Teresa, you're getting a 5621. And so is Linda Harris. Linda Harris, are you in the chat? Let me know. Linda Harris. If you're not here, I'm going to call one more name. Also, if you're taking 5625 and you get one of these, you're getting, it's all the same. You don't need to worry about the, writing. But if you're here for the 5625, stay for the writing. This is a little, hang on. I need it to get clearer. There we go. Linda Harris, are you here? Linda Harris is here. Okay, cool. 5621. So Capers and Harris, you both are the proud owners of 5621. If you don't need it, give it to your friend or whatever, but you're getting a physical book from me and it'll come media mail a few days. Okay, perfect, you guys. So we're going to do that a couple more times throughout. All right. So really quickly, if you're taking the 5625, get any one of these books. If you want to get the online course, get the online course. Because it's going to help you no matter what. Okay. No matter what. This camera, hang on. There we go. I need it. Sometimes it gets blurry and you have to put a hand in front of it. Anyway, it's a new camera. Okay. Let's go to my, free study guide here. Okay. So this is the free study guide that you got with this particular webinar. We always give out a free study guide. It's abbreviated. Here. There's only 10 questions and detailed answer choices. Okay. We're going to go over a few of these today in my presentation. But if you want this, you want the free study guide and you're watching online on social, click the link in the description and you can download this. You just put in your email and they'll give you the Vimeo link and all of that. Okay. Now, on top of that, we're going to do the constructed response today, and you're going to get this handout in the email that comes after this particular webinar. Now, if you're watching in the future, you already have this. It was already sent to you because you signed up. Or if you're watching in the future on YouTube or anywhere else, link in the description and you can grab all of this. Okay. Now let's go over to, where is my, it stopped sharing. Okay. Hang on. Let's go back here. I need to, get my, okay, let me stop sharing. I have to get my screen. It will not share my presentation, my things. Let's see here. Sorry about that. Talk amongst yourselves. Says my AirPlay is unable to go. Let's see here. Maybe I need to quit it. 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves really quickly. Sorry, technical difficulties. My sharing screen, I may have to just go through it as a PDF because my screen where I normally share is not working. Okay, well, we're going to just go through it as a PDF then. That's fine. Something is wrong with my screen. So let's do this. Okay, let's go into the free study guide. So when we talk about the Praxis PLT 5621, 5622, 2324, and 25, we're talking about some of these types of questions here. Now, let me just zoom in and make sure we're on the right one. We're going to start here with number one. Normally, I have this all laid out on a nice presentation, but it's not allowing me to share my screen for some reason. So yes, it is. Now it is. Hang on. 556. I apologize for this delay, you guys. All right, let's see. Is it doing it? Yep, there we go. Okay, cool. So sorry. This This should have been done while I was, there we go. Okay. Let's just make it bigger. Okay, here we go. Number 1, we're live and we're having mistakes happen. No problem. All right, here we go. So number 1 on your study guide is here. You can see that we've got our answer choices here, and I'm always going to want to start backwards. This is what I mean when I say think like a test maker. All right. When we think like a test maker, we're working with the answer choices first. Most people start here and then they read all the way down. We're not going to do that. We're going to think like a test maker, not a test taker. And we're going to X out bad words and zero in on good words here. Let me just move this over. All right. So A, fill out a worksheet right away. No. Red flag. Worksheets are a no-go. Do we use worksheets in real life? Absolutely. But we are not going to make them as the answer, because on this exam, they're usually attaching it to a student who struggles, or we're trying to increase critical thinking. And worksheets, they can totally. A well-written worksheet is awesome. Kids like them. They're good for practice. But on this test, just say no to worksheets. A is out. B, build a model of a cell and label it. Okay. I remember building a model of a cell and labeling it when I was a kid. C, write a comic strip about a cell and all the adventures it encounters. Okay. This is application, apply. This is where students are applying their skills and writing an essay or comic strip. I like C the best right now. D, draw a picture of a cell and label its parts. Okay. Couple things going on with these answer choices. And again, I'm slowing down a little bit to show you like what's going on here. Basically, we have two things happening. We have a 3-to-1 strategy happening here. Okay. 3-to-1. That means there are 3 of the same thing and 1 that's not the same. This happens a lot in testing. And the 3 are the skill: labeling, label, label. Labeling is a low-level skill. That's where students are identifying. Now, I talk a lot more about this in the book and on my online course. We talk about Bloom's taxonomy. We talk about Webb's depth of knowledge. And labeling, it's essential. You have to be able to identify, but it's typically on the lower side. And you can see in my question stem here, continuing to work backwards, I have the word critical thinking. Now, typically, critical thinking is not linked to labeling anything. So A, B, and D are now out. It's also a 3-to-1. If you're stuck and you're like, I don't know, building a model sounds good, worksheet sounds good, drawing a picture sounds good, notice they're all sort of the same. Get rid of them because there can only be one correct answer. Now, if it said choose all that apply, then it would be a little bit harder. But know also that they want you to be put, here's a little quick Bloom's taxonomy. Labeling is down here. Critical thinking is up here. Okay. We want to keep pushing students up, up, up. So if you see the term critical thinking in the question stem, find the higher level skill, analyze, evaluate, apply. This is application, because we're actually taking what we know and applying it to writing a story or a comic strip, right? Identify is down here, low level. We want to stay away from that, especially since this says critical thinking. And notice I didn't have to get all turned around in the question, right? They're going to give you even longer than this. I kept these sort of short because, you know, we have a lot to cover here today, but like sometimes this will be like a whole paragraph and a set of data, and you don't even have to read it. You just need to look at the answer choices. Okay. Let's have a look at number 2, reading the, answer choices first. Here we go. Consult his peer teacher about the lesson. Right. I love a peer teacher. I had the best peer teacher. She was super awesome to me when I first started. Her name was Jane Klinker. I think she's still teaching. I don't know, but she was an awesome peer teacher, super laid back and very happy to be a teacher. She was a good one. And I love this. So if I'm a new teacher, I'm like, oh, I love my peer teacher. I'm going to keep it. B, reference the state adopted standards for grade 9 biology. Okay. If you see this on the PLT, state standards, in fact, we could probably do a Command F on standards in the test specification, and it'll show up a lot. All right. Because who's giving you this exam? The state. You are being assessed by the state of New Jersey, the state of Louisiana, the state of Maryland, whatever. And they want to know that you're going to follow their standards, right? So if you see the term state adopted standards, aligned to the standards, the term alignment, all of that, good words, 99.99% of the time, it's going to be the correct answer. All right. C, determine what assessments he will need to administer. Okay. I like assessments too. That's part of the specs. D, go online and see what other teachers are doing in their classrooms. Well, I do that. Don't you do that? I see a lot of stuff on TikTok and funny stuff and important stuff. And I share stuff on social. Are people going online and checking my stuff out? Yes. If you're a brand new teacher, this is one of those that seems like, well, all of them seem like a good answer. But we're looking for the first step. Let's read the question. What should be his first step? First step in anything as a teacher is to look at the state adopted standards and align everything to it. But look what they do here. Mr. Rodriguez is a new 9th grade biology teacher. And then they have this A here, consult his peer teacher. And if you're brand new and you've never seen my videos and you've never talked about this kind of stuff, you might grab A because that's what you're doing in your school, right? But no matter what, I don't care what your peer teacher says, the state adopted standards have to be number one. I talk a lot about this in my lesson planning videos. I have a webinar on that. If you're a new teacher, you need help in classroom management, I have a ton of resources on that. You know, this is hard, especially if you've never been in the classroom, you're taking this test for the first time. But this state adopted standards, that's the first step in anything you do. Okay. They want to know that you're aligned to the standards. When I first started teaching, I didn't even know what a standard was. I got the keys to the classroom, my teacher edition, and a good luck. And then about a week and a half later, my assistant principal of curriculum came in and she was like, "Are you teaching to the standards?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally." And I had no idea what the standards were. I had to go do a deep dive and I figured it out. And I worked with other teachers and stuff, but they didn't tell me this. I'm a career changer. And people say, "Oh, how could you not know?" I didn't go to school for education. I went to school for English. And then I went to school, but my master's was in public administration. I wasn't up to date on the standards. Now everything I do is about standards. That's what's in those test specifications as well. All right, let's have a look at number 3. Now, if I'm working backwards here, I can see I have standards, objectives, rules, and rubrics. Okay, I can't eliminate anything, all right? I say these are the examples of, let's go here. Students will identify parts of the cell. Students will understand the difference between fragments and complex sentences. These are objectives. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between standards, objectives, rules, and rubrics. First of all, rules are typically bad. It's like a bad way to talk about classroom management. It should be expectations, right? We want to do a strengths-based approach. And rules sounds punitive. And you might say, "Oh, that's so silly. Why do they have to change everything?" Because expectations has a better vibe to it. And students follow expectations more than they follow punitive rules. I will tell you in my own practice, that is true. I was a high school teacher who had students in intensive reading. These were kids who did not want to be in school. You know, they did not want to be in my reading class, right? And if I said, "Well, there are rules to this class," they're going to be like, "Lady, I have a full-time job." Some of them have children. You know what I mean? Like, rules from me are not going to work with them, right? But expectations, and we sort of have a collaborative approach on that. That's all going to work. So rules is out. Rubrics are awesome. Rubrics set expectations for your students when it comes to writing assignments. This is part of the assessments section. I like rubrics, but this is not a rubric. These are skills. These are the skills and behaviors a student will display at the end of a lesson. And that is the definition of an objective, right? Standards are a little bigger than objectives. Standards are those state adopted standards. You have them for every subject, every grade level, and they're more of a long-term goal for the end of the year. And students are assessed on these standards with their big test, you know, like the ELA 3rd grade or the civics exam at 8th grade or whatever it is. Those are standards aligned. Those are criterion referenced exams, the criteria, the standards, and the standards happen like overarching over the year. Objectives are for the lesson. And you'll see, you typically write these on your board if your principal is asking you to. I highly recommend you tell students what the objectives are before you start the lesson. "Hey, everybody, this is what we're going to be responsible for." It really helps to frame the learning. So it's really important there. All right, let's go to number 4. Let's have a look at the answer choices here. Again, I can't eliminate anything. Reciprocal teaching, cooperative learning, modeling, and writing workshop. Okay, writing workshop and cooperative learning, I'm going to cross off just in my mind here, thinking like a test maker, because they're similar. A writing workshop is cooperative learning. That's when students are in groups. So they're too close for me. Just thinking quickly, all right? The teacher is using what technique with her students? Still can't answer it. The students watch as she goes through the essay, deleting fragments and revising sentences. The students watch. This is modeling. The teacher has projected an essay in the front of the class. Modeling, okay? Let's talk about all these different things here. What is reciprocal teaching? Reciprocal teaching is when the students become the teacher and the teacher just becomes a facilitator, okay? This is high level. Students have a really good grasp of the information, of the skill, and they can then teach in small group. Perhaps you have one teacher in a group of 5 and you have five little teachers all around the room and they're teaching the lesson to their group. Or it could be a few students in the front of the room administering a lesson. It gives the students ownership. It's a fantastic practice. You have to practice it. That's why they call it a practice. You are not going to master reciprocal teaching as a brand new teacher the first time out of the box. And I say this to a lot of new teachers. Keep trying. If you see a cool, strategy and you're like, yeah, I want to do that with my kids and it bombs, well, should you throw it away and be like, my kids just can't do this? No, we're going to keep trying it. We're going to keep tweaking. We're going to keep trying. And I'm going to show you one in the constructed response, what we can do to make these awesome, like high level things happen with good routines and procedures and really good explicit instruction. So you keep trying at it. This is a great practice. Also writing workshop. I love writing workshop. I taught English and science. We wrote a lot in science because I have an English degree. So I focused a lot on the reading and writing in science. And I got to tell you, this is a fantastic practice. Can it be done one time without a lot of practice? No. Writing workshop, in order for them to be really, really good, you have to practice it. Your kids have to understand it. Again, it's a practice. Cooperative learning, the same thing. Students working together. You can't just say, oh, get into groups, guys. No, no, no. We need explicit instruction. I talk a lot about this in my classroom management course. And I talk a lot about it in my Teach a Survival Guide for New Educators book. We've got to make sure that there is explicit instruction where we model the behaviors that we want students to have. We model how we want them to revise their sentences. Modeling is also a really good word. Teacher modeling behaviors, teacher modeling reading, teacher modeling metacognition, teacher modeling questioning. All of that works really, really well. All right. And the last one, I'm going to do number 8 for this one. Okay. So let's have a look at the answer choices. They're long. Plan, teach, and practice daily routines and procedures for transitions in classroom activities. I love the term, especially for this exam, daily routines and procedures. If you do a Command F or a Control F on the document, let me just do it really quickly. This is the document that you're going to go out, but let's just do a Command F, routine. Routine, 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 routine. See how many times? 8 times. 8 times it's got the routines. When you see a word going over and over and over and over again in the test specification, it's probably going to be the correct answer. So I love A. B, send home reminders to parents about classroom expectations. Do we do that? Yes, we do. Is it the best one so far? No, it is not. Your job is to get students to just know those routines and procedures like the back of your hand. And I go over this a lot in my classroom management videos. If you're struggling in this area, if you're struggling in classroom management, routines and procedures will save you. Ask any of the veterans in the chat. Routines and procedures, practiced routines and procedures, explicit routines and procedures will help you. Veterans, if you're in the chat, let me know. Let the new teachers know how important it is to stop all teaching and make sure your routines and procedures are in place, because it's going to eliminate 90% of your issues. I promise you. All right. C, assign homework right away. Red flag. Homework is out. On this exam, homework is not the right answer. D, have students sign behavior contracts. Do these work? Yes, they do. It is a contract and agreement between the two of you. But on this exam, usually not. All right, D is out. All right, A has got all the good stuff in it. And I showed you on that test spec, routine is done. If you do the same thing with standards, you'll find it. Command F is your friend. Control F if you're on a PC. Check, to search for those words. Okay. All right. Before we do the constructed response, I'm going to go over here and stop sharing. Let me go here. Let me just look at what you guys are saying here. It's yeah. So some of the veteran teachers are talking about the routines and procedures and how those are really good. Okay, let's give away the 5622. I have one 5622 book left over. So we're going to give away one of those right now. And I'm going to give away two 5623s. So for the 5622, we've got Crystal Luna. Crystal Luna, are you in the chat? Let me know. So you're getting a 5622, Crystal Luna, if you're here. And let me give away two more, 5623 and 5623. So these are middle school. Again, it doesn't matter. For the 5623, let's go Colette Hillard. Colette Hillard. And the next one is Zulika or Zully Barker. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat really quickly. Okay, while I'm waiting for them to tell me that they're here, let's talk about the constructed response, okay? Let me just see. We have Crystal Luna, Colette Hillard, and Zulika Barker, Zully Barker. Zully, you're here. Zully, you're getting a 5623. Crystal, you're here. Sorry, I'm switching around. Crystal, you're getting a 5622. Crystal Luna with a K, though. Crystal Luna with a K. Yep, you're there. Okay, you're getting a 5622. And Colette, you're getting a 5623. We've got it all worked out. My person she's got a spreadsheet with your name. So that's it. We have two more books to give away, the 5624, two of those. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the constructed response. You have 4 of them that you have to write. Okay. That means you can't be dilly-dallying and wondering, how to do this. Just answer the questions and don't put in a lot of fluff. You don't need an intro. You don't need a conclusion. You just need to answer the question. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to project the little piece that you're going to get in the email at the end of this webinar. If you're watching in the future, you already have it. And then we're going to write it together. And I'm going to show you exactly how to attack these constructed responses. Now, in the constructed response, there are 4, and they can come from any section of the PLT. So remember those 4 sections. What are they? Students as learners, instructional process, assessment, and the professional development, community, and leadership. They can come from any one of those. You will for sure get one or two from instructional process and student as learners. You may or may not get them from the, assessment and professional development. There are 4, and 1 to 2 can come from those first 2 groups. Just be prepared to answer any question, okay? Now, here's the thing. Buzzwords on your constructed response are going to be things like differentiated instruction, practice routines and procedures, aligning instruction to the standards, higher order critical thinking. Those are all the things they want you to do on this exam. So those are the things you want to remember when you go into the constructed response. Someone is being honest about their constructed response. They only got a 7 out of 16. Is it out of 16 though? Because it's 4. Let me just see really quickly. Let me see hang on. I'm in another test right now. I'm rewriting my SLLA. Yeah. So let me just go here really quickly. Let me tell you exactly how many, points they're worth. Give me 1 second. You have 2 graders on the constructed response. Hang on. Okay. Score of a 2. Okay. The highest is a score of a 2. So it's 16. You have 4 constructed response questions, and 2 is the best you can get. And there are 2 graders. So 4 times 2 is 8, times 2 graders is 16. So yes, the person talking about getting a 7 out of 16, that's how they do it. There's 2 graders. One is typically a human, and the other one is the computer. If they agree within 1 point, the score is good. If they disagree by more than 2 or more points, another human is brought in. At least that's what they say. Okay. So you want to get a 2. right? But you don't have to get a 2 on everything. You could get a 1 here. What you don't want to get is a 0. And the way you get a 0 is you don't answer the question at all. Now, with the constructed response, I want you to think like a test maker and work backwards. Let me show you how to do that really quickly. Let me get my screens hooked up here because I feel like, okay. Let's go here. Constructed response. Okay. Well, the first one we're going to do is an elementary example, but it could be anything. It could be middle. It could be anything. Okay. So let's just go here. Here is my constructed response. Let me zoom in really quick so you can see everything here. Again, oh my gosh, my computer is being so weird today. You're going to get all of this. Okay. So you will see something this big. How are you supposed to do this? Oh my gosh, I am so sorry, you guys. How are you supposed to do this in the allotted time, right? I'm going to have to do this because it keeps going to the next page. Let me go one more. There we go. All right, so what you're going to do, oh my goodness. I don't know why it's doing this. Sorry. I have to zoom out. I'm sorry, you guys, if it's little. You really can't see it. Hold on. Actual size. All right, we're going to do our best to stay on this page. All right, so we have the elementary, and if you're first time ever taking the test, you're going to read all this and all of this, and then you're going to get to the questions, and you're going to read that, right? Well, no. We're going to start with this. Why? Because, and let me highlight it, because this is the task. This is what you have to do. So we're going to work backwards. Right away, you're going to think about what's going on here, and you're going to think of good words, and you're going to think of practices before you even read this thing. All right, so let's look at question 1. In the objectives, Ms. Rose wanted students to identify and discuss different features in the earth. Here's what they want you to do. Identify 2 modifications she can make to the lesson to achieve these objectives. And explain how each modification can help to improve meeting the objective of the lesson. All right, so you're going to identify 2 modifications, and then you're going to explain why they're good. It's called giving 2 modifications and then a rationale. And typically that's a pattern on the exam. They want you to do a rationale. Why did you choose it? The second one is here. Identify 2 areas of professional learning Ms. Rhodes can seek out. That goes to that 4th section, professional development, community, and leadership. They want to know that if you're struggling as a teacher, you're going to go get professional development. Also, even if you're not struggling, that you know where to get professional development. So we need 2 areas of professional development, and then say why those areas are good. The rationale. It's basically list these 2 things, talk about them, and tell me why they're important. Now, when we do our constructed response, I want you to really pay attention to specifics. Don't just talk in abstractions. I'm going to show you that specifically here in a second. But don't just say, oh, she would really benefit from professional development on classroom management. Too broad. Get specific. Dig down. I'm going to show you how to do that today. So we need 2 modifications to achieve the standards and why they work, and then 2 professional developments. All right. So let's go ahead and read this. Ms. Rhodes, 2nd grade. I'm just going to paraphrase here. She's doing stuff about the Earth's features, and she wants them to work with clay. She's giving the students clay, and they're 2nd graders. So right away, clay, tell me in the chat, you guys, if you're pre-K to 3rd grade. Clay is great, but clay can be problematic. If students do not know what's going on, you put them into groups and there's clay on the table, what are they going to do? They're going to grab the clay. What are adults going to do? The adults are going to grab the clay too. Trust me, I do a ton of professional development with adult teachers, and they will grab the clay unless you have explicit instructions for them not to. All right. Here are her objectives. Students will work in groups to use clay to make models of the earth. Students will discuss the different features of the earth using their clay earth models, and students will identify different features of the earth. Okay, so these are ambitious objectives. So, and that's good. They should be ambitious, but we're looking for modifications to achieve. Something tells me this brand new teacher probably doesn't have any procedures and routines around the clay. We got some issues here. All right, here are the observation notes by the peer teacher. She begins the lesson by telling students they will work in cooperative groups. The students get really excited, of course. She tells students to go to their group tables. Let me know in the chat, veterans. Get into groups. Unless you've got those procedures down, they're not getting into groups. It takes 5 minutes to get the students into the correct groups. Why? There's no procedure around it. She didn't say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, whatever you speak to your students, here is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be getting into groups. We're going to be working with clay. These are the explicit steps I want you to take. Here's your checklist. Do not move on to the next thing until this one is checked. You might even model it as a teacher. You might even say, everybody sit here. I'm going to show you exactly what I want you to do when you go to your tables. And you might get up as a teacher, go sit at the table and put your hands like this in your lap. And you might say, students, this is how I want you to get to the table. Do I want you to touch the clay? No, I do not. Do I want you to yell to your friends and neighbors and all of that? No, I do not. I want you to go straight to your designated table. She doesn't do that. And it takes 5 minutes. That's a long time. That's a long time. Oh my gosh. All right. Ms. Rose says, boys and girls, if you touch the clay now, we won't be able to do this activity. And it's a mess. It's a mess. Students are, let me see here. Students are frustrated and confused. They've grabbed the clay. They don't know what to do. Their clay gets all messed up, all mushed together. It didn't work. Does that mean she should abandon it? No. Here's a post-observation conference. Ms. Rose knows the activity did not meet the lesson objectives. She is frustrated that the students do not listen. She mentions that she may not be able to do cooperative learning with this class. Do you think that's the case? Or did Ms. Rhodes not set her kids up? You got to set them up with explicit instructions. So what are a couple modifications she can do? The first thing I think she should do is build in time for explicit instruction on steps to the clay activity. Okay? Steps to the clay activity. Then modeling it. We got to break it down. This is a big thing. This might take 2 or 3 days. You can't just say get into groups. So explicit instructions and clear expectations. And then the second one is practice routines. If this is the first time we've done group work, then we need to practice a routine for group work. We know what group we're going into. We know what table we're going to. We know exactly what the expectation is because we've practiced it over and over again, right? So that is what I would do, okay? And then those modifications, obviously, explicit instruction sets the students up for success, and clear expectations help students go through it, all right? So let me go here. So my 2 things are going to be explicit instruction, and these are the specifics of it. They need steps to shape the clay and clear expectations and practice routines. They need to know how to work in groups effectively and must practice before jumping into the learning. All right. So here is that's my first question. Remember, let me just go back here. There are 2 questions. Question 1 is about the modifications. We're not on question 2 yet. Question 2 is going to be easy because question 1 sort of answers question 2. But let's go back here. All right, so let's write it. I'm going to break it up into 2 things, 2 paragraphs: explicit instruction and establish practice and routines, okay? And I am going to label them. I like to use headings in my writing on tests. If you have an opportunity to do it, do it. I don't know if you can bold. It depends on what testing center you're in. It depends on what program you have. But you could put in all caps, explicit instruction, hit enter, and then start to write and do that again so it's clear that it's a heading. Why is this good? Well, it shows the grader that you have 2 distinct paragraphs here. So right away, organization, you're getting a thumbs up on the organization. And you're just making it easy on the grader. The person in the chat, thank you so much for telling us that you were not successful, because a lot of people aren't. So thank you for putting yourself out there. I suspect that the essay wasn't very organized. You were probably focused more on the multiple choice and you didn't have a chance to really break this up. This is the first step. Explicit instruction is my first task or my first modification, and establish practice routines is my second modification. Let's talk about it. Ms. Rhodes can modify the lesson by providing more precise, detailed instructions at the beginning of the activity. For example, that's where we get specific. When you use terms like for example in here, you are showing the grader that you are about to give them specifics. She can demonstrate how to shape the clay and all that. Finally, explicit instruction will help students understand Ms. Rhodes' expectations. Okay, notice what I did here. I gave you the specific modification. I got specific on it, what it is. And then I gave the rationale. Why does this help? Explicit instruction will help students understand Ms. Rhodes' expectations. What does that satisfy? That satisfies both of these bullets for the first modification. Identify a modification and tell me how it meets the objective. Okay. Second paragraph here. Ms. Rhodes can modify the lesson by establishing practice routines for cooperative learning. In groups, she can explicitly teach and model, those are those good words, explicit and model cooperative behaviors and expectations. For example, I'm getting even more granular. She can introduce a routine such as taking turns, listening to others, ideas, asking for help. And here comes the rationale, the reason why it works. By practicing these routines regularly, students will develop the skills and habits necessary for successful collaboration, which can improve her ability to discuss this for those objectives, right? So again, let me go back to my thing. We did check, identify 2 modifications. We have explicit instruction and practice routines. We also got specific as to what that would look like in her classroom. And then we explained why they work. Explicit instruction sets students up for success. They know exactly what's expected of them. They can then meet those expectations. And establish routines and procedures. They practice this. They know exactly what to do. And it helps to improve their collaboration. Boom, boom. Now, the next question. So we just finished question 1. I bet we get a 2 on that. Question 2. What are 2 areas of professional learning? Well, what do you think? Think about it. Probably, let's see here. Areas of professional learning. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I'm losing it. Professional development on classroom management. This teacher needs some classroom management, specifically explicit instruction and modeling. And then perhaps some training on differentiated instruction. Listen, if you blank, just go back to, okay, we can do some professional development on modeling, professional development on classroom expectations, professional development on cooperative learning. Just grab whatever and write to it and be specific. All right. So now let's see what that looks like here. So question 2. Which professional development? Ms. Rhodes can seek professional learning opportunities on classroom management, particularly those related, to cooperative learning. And you can talk about procedures and routines. This knowledge will help her establish cooperative groups as a regular, successful part of the learning process. So I gave you the professional development. I got specific on it. Excuse me, I have the hiccups right now. And I tell you why it's going to work. Why it's going to work, the rationale is such a good way to end the paragraph in these for any constructed response for like reading, PLT, anything. It's like a nice way to wrap up the paragraph. This is important because this helps the teacher because this is a good practice because, and it rounds out the paragraph nicely. So I highly recommend that last sentence is your rationale and it checks off the box for full 2 points. Training on differentiated instruction. Ms. Rhodes can benefit from professional learning opportunities focused on differentiated instruction. By learning how to differentiate instruction based on individual needs and interests, learning styles, she can better support diverse learners during cooperative learning activities. I blanked on this one, but see how I added it to cooperative learning? This will enable her to provide appropriate scaffolding to support students who may struggle with the activity. There were a couple students who struggled with the activity. All right. Ultimate leading to a more successful implementation. Notice the rationales, my last sentence there. And it works. 2 short paragraphs for question 2, and I probably would have gotten a 2. Probably would have gotten a 2 here, plus another 2 from the other grader. Remember, that's 4 here. 4 here. 8 out of 16 right there. All right, now for the second one we're going to do, I'm going to do a high school example for you guys. If I got people in here for high school, let me go down. There we go. Here's the high school guy. All right. So here I'm going to summarize this because we're running out of time. Basically, let's look at oh my gosh, this thing is killing me. It keeps going on. Let me close the pages here. All right. So question 1. Identify 2 modifications Mr. Sumner can make to his lesson to increase his effectiveness in category 2. What's category 2? Delivers instruction aligned to a rigorous learning objective. So we need to up the rigor. So right away, perhaps questioning techniques, critical thinking, that's coming into my mind. Explain the rationale. And the second one is identify 2 changes this teacher can do to address this feedback. So in the observation feedback, the principal mentions student engagement is low. What 2 things can we do with engagement? Cooperative learning, questioning again, and then identify how it might work, okay? Now, for this one, I chose Have the guy use the standards to plan lessons, meet the needs of each student, keep students on track, and continually refer to the objectives in the lesson plan. So that's the first one. All right. Now let's go back and look at the actual question here, the scenario. Basically, this person is a 9th grade social studies teacher. And when the principal looks at the lesson plans, look at all these lesson plans. Look at how repetitive. Read chapter 4, complete the chapter questions. Read chapter 4, lesson 2, repeat the chapter questions. It's just repeat. And then week 4, test. Then week 5, read chapter 5, complete the chapter questions. This is not rigorous instruction. This is just on repeat, right? Then there's Then there's a 40-minute movie and note-taking. This is a hard no for me as an instructional leader. A 40-minute movie, that is not aligned to the standards, I promise you. Clips of the movie, discussion of the movie. If you want to show the movie, show it in sections, have discussion, writing activities. These are all red flags. And then when the principal is in there, the principal sees that the students are compliant. They're not acting out. They're compliant, as you can see here, but they're not engaged. And this is their walkthrough rubric. Teacher demonstrates a solid grasp of the content. There's a 3 there. So the teacher is very well versed in history or whatever the social science teacher is doing. But the instruction is not aligned to rigorous learning objective, and the pedagogical skills are not great. Direct instruction, modeling, facilitating, this does not work. This person is just doing they're mailing it in. All right, we don't want to do that. All right, so for the first one, let's have a look. My first 2 are, let's go back to my plan. So we need 2 modifications this teacher can make to increase his effectiveness in delivering a rigorous learning objective. All right, so how can we make this more rigorous? Well, we can use the standards to plan lessons and make decisions so we can meet the needs of every student. And we can track learning goals. Just giving them the questions at the end of the chapter is not good. All right. And then we want to continually refer to the objectives so that we're increasing the rigor and collecting data along the way to make it more rigorous. All right. So I did 1 paragraph for this one, and it's going to meet both of those. Here we go. The first approach Mr. Sumner can take to improve in category 2 is to plan lessons using the learning objective aligned to the standards. For example, rather than planning lessons for the entire semester, that was in the scenario. Sorry, I skipped that part. He plans for the entire semester, and it's all just the same lesson over and over again, just different chapters, okay? Mr. Sumner can plan incrementally, collect data to drive instructional decisions, and design rigorous lesson objectives that correspond with academic standards. Good words, good practices, throwing them in there. This will ensure, here comes the rationale, he meets the needs of all students while pushing students towards skill mastery. I add the second thing in here. The second thing Mr. Sumner can do is communicate those objectives throughout his lesson. For example, as students engage in the lesson, Mr. Sumner can ask, have we met this objective? Referring back to the objective, here comes the rationale, helps connect activities to the classroom student learning targets. It is also a way to collect data to make further instructional decisions. So I satisfied, let's go back here, this whole entire thing in 1 paragraph. I did my 2 modifications. I got specific as to what they were, and I explained why both of them are good practices. Now, question 2. Identify 2 changes this teacher can do to address the feedback under student engagement, how they're compliant and not engaged. What 2 things can the teacher do? Well, what can we do? Ask essential questions. How do you engage your student? Ask essential questions and up the rigor and give them wait time. Wait for them to answer. Gets them thinking more critically. And we can use some cooperative learning to increase critical thinking. All right. And then let's get specific. Here we go. I did the same thing. I put it all in 1 paragraph. Mr. Sumner's class focuses mainly on finishing textbook tasks and busy work. Mr. Sumner can incorporate questioning techniques during direct instruction to increase student engagement. So there's my first thing he can do, and help students interact with the material. Get specific. I love this word, for example. That signals to the grader. I'm about to give you an example here. I'm getting specific. During direct instruction, Mr. Sumner can ask essential questions to get students thinking more critically about the material rather than just finishing bookwork. Here comes my rationale. This will increase engagement and understanding of the material. Second tactic, Another tactic Mr. Sumner can use to increase student engagement is cooperative learning. Remember, that was number 2. Now I get specific. He can present students with rigorous material and encourage them to work together to use their higher order thinking skills. Good word, good word, good word. Here comes my rationale. This will also increase student engagement and critical thinking as essential part of the rigorous curriculum. All right. This would get a 2 plus 2. This would be a 4. And let's say maybe this is a 1 plus 1. This equals 2. What's my total? 4 plus 2 is 6 plus 8 is 14 out of 16. You can do this too. You just have to make sure you're answering the question, you're being specific, and you're using those keywords and keep it organized. All right. All right. Let's go back. Let's give away another book. Okay. Kim is asking, I got a 149 on my PLT. I need a 157. Well, the first thing you can do is work backwards like I showed you today in this webinar. You can really work on those constructed response and grab those areas that you need. Go to your score report. You get a score report in your email when you're done, and have a look and see where you're low. And where you're low, attack those places and really get to know those places. And then when you're in my book, zero in on some things that you like a strategy you like, or a practice you think is good that you could write about. You can apply any strategy to the constructed response. You just have to back it up with the rationale. So if you love talking about cooperative learning, if you love talking about essential questions, if you love talking about explicit routines and procedures, you can use those in anything. You just have to form it to the question, okay? Valerie didn't know any of this, and now you do. Awesome, Valerie. I'm so glad you're here. Ella, glad this is helpful. Thank you, guys. All right, let's give away another book, shall we? Hang on. I need like a bookshelf over here. Sorry. Okay, this is the 5624. This is the high school. And again, it doesn't matter. It's the same book. I just put in a couple of high school examples. If you look at the test specs, they are identical. And there's like 2 or 3 questions that are different because it's high school examples, but all the stuff is the same. Okay. It's all about students as learners, instructional process, professional development, and community. And of course, assessment being data driven. All right. So 2 people we're going with. 5624. Here we go. Ella Hines and Kalima Smith. Ella Hines and Kalima Smith. Let me know in the chat if you're there, and you'll get the 5624. Now let me talk to you about where to get even more resources. So obviously you have this webinar today, and if you use the link in the descriptions, you've got the free study guide, you've got the constructed response examples, you've got this here. But if you want to go beyond that and you need help in other areas or whatever, I highly recommend you go to KathleenJasper.com, which is my website. Obviously you can get the Praxis PLT, but some of you are brand new to teaching, and I have some teacher resources. Teach a Survival Guide for New Educators. Let me get that book. Please hold. Oh, geez. Okay. That's this book here. Shameless plug. This is my Teach a Survival Guide for New Educators. And you can see that a lot of people online love this book. It's all over TikTok. A bunch of people are sharing about this book. It's really sweet. I love seeing teachers, like new teachers, say, that they like this book. Okay, it looks like our winners are here. So awesome. You guys will get your 5624 book. But Teach a Survival Guide for New Educators. I'm going to go ahead and give away one of these right now. This book right here is really, really, really good. And it just has everything. It's just a quick general thing. And I tell funny stories about all my failures and how I fell on my face and like did all the wrong things. So you don't have to. Okay. So let's go ahead and give away one of these books as well. Let's give away one of these books. Kanisha Walton. Let me know if you're in the chat, Kanisha Walton, and we will talk about this here. Okay, now let me show you more for you to see. And tell all your teacher friends, you guys. Okay, here's what we got. Online courses. Also, if you need college prep, I have an amazing SAT prep course. Just a shameless plug here. This is so good. I've gotten kids hundreds of points extra on the SAT. This is a really good course. If you have kids, if you have students who need it, highly recommend. And I have a lot of free resources. We'll set you up with that as well. But let's go to free webinars. So you can see here, I've got some more free webinars coming up, 5355. I've got early childhood here. I've got my online courses. So under teacher prep, PLT, these online courses, if you liked this today, you'll love the online course. And these come with the study guide. So all of our online courses come with the digital study guide. When you buy from us on our website, it is digital. Everything is digital. We're working on selling physical products on the website. We're just not there yet. We're waiting for the books to be approved by a major distributor. It's not just Amazon. We're now in other places, right? So it takes a while. But if you want the physical copy, you click this Amazon button here. It will take you to the physical copy. Buy new, don't buy used. Used is going to have markings in it. Also, these are physical copies sent to you by Amazon. If there's something wrong with the book, contact Amazon and they will resend you one. Don't worry about that. But again, physical, you can't use the offer code. I can't give offer codes on Amazon. That's another reason why I'm trying to sell the books physically on my website through a distributor, because then I can offer codes. But for now, if you want the physical, you can't get it on the website. You can only get it on Amazon, but you will soon. But if you're here, you want to get the digital copy, it's linked up. You can click on the links and all of that. Now, beyond that, of course, the online course is, let's go here, teacher test prep, PLT. Super comprehensive, everything you need to pass the exam and tons of writing resources there. Free webinars. I also have a very comprehensive YouTube channel. Many of you are here right now on my YouTube channel, watching me live. There is so much here. So we have tons of information here on test prep resources, think like a test maker, reading, all of it is all right here. Also, I love TikTok. I'm on TikTok for micro learning. I just like to share things on here. I love this short form. I'm really having a lot of fun with it. So definitely check me out on TikTok. Follow me on TikTok. We're doing pretty good over there. And if you haven't followed me already on YouTube, do it, because I'm almost to 100,000 followers on YouTube. And the thing is, it's taken me 10 years to get there. Most people can get to like 1 million or 3 million in 10 years. Obviously, the stuff I talk about probably isn't that popular, but after 100,000, I get one of those plaques, those silver plaques. And it took me 10 years to do it. But if I get it, I'm going to put it back here like all those YouTubers do. But anyways, did we get Kanisha? Is Kanisha here? Looks like Kanisha's not here. Let's pick one more. Sorry. Teresa Capers already has a book, I believe. She was, let's see here, Kanisha. Sheila Suresh. Sheila Suresh, are you here? Let me know. Sheila Suresh. All right, so listen, this test is all about the practice of teaching. You're going to need to know a lot of things about it. You're going to have to think like a test maker and work backwards. I want you to remember all those test taker strategies that I talked to you about and really hone in. Now, some of the things that we talked about today can be applied to all different types of tests. That work backwards, zero in on those good answer choices, good words, all of that is going to help you. I really appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you. Thank you so much. Be sure to make sure that you subscribe to everything and pull all of our emails into your inbox. It looks like Sheila's not here either. Let's go with one more. There was one person in here. All right. I'm trying to find our next winner for the book. Let's see. Latanya Owens. Latanya Owens, are you here? Let me know in the chat. Latanya Owens. Latanya Owens. Let me know. And we will send you this book. All right. All right, everybody. I am so glad you were here today. Just waiting one more. If Latanya is here in the thing, Latanya, let me know. If not, I'll just give it to somebody else. It's fine. I'll pick a name out of a hat and send it on. But I can't, the chat's not really moving right now. So I don't know if you're here or not, but I want to let you go today because it is Saturday. I'm sure you have a lot to do. I want to make sure that you guys enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a teacher. And please use my free resources to pass the exam, buy my paid resources if that's what you want to do. But I have so many free things as well. And sometimes people pair them. They'll pair the book with the free webinar or something like that. Mix and match. All of that is going to help you. All right. So anyways, I really hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Study hard. Let us know how you're doing and have an awesome day. All right.